In these chapters, we finally see Azure saving Nina and, surprisingly, choosing not to kill Sett. Last time we saw Sett waking up and causing a distraction while searching for Nina. This final chapter of Volume 7 starts with Noe trying to stop him from leaving since he is still healing from the poison, but he is already long gone. Even though he can barely walk, he warns them not to block his way or he will send them to the underworld, causing the guards to shiver. Bido, one of his brothers, comes to him with the news that Nina is missing. The same news reaches Azure, who starts heading back, hoping and praying that Nina is safe. On his way, he spots Sett and wonders where he's going alone and decides to follow him. Sett is still very weak with bags under his eyes, and he keeps thinking about how the snacks contained the antidote, how Toad had said Nina was the trap to get rid of him and had informed him that the messengers from Fortuna had vanished. Toad had also asked if he was going to find the princess for revenge because she betrayed him after he trusted her. Eventually, all his blabbing led Sett to slash him with his sword while calling him a gnat. He still tries to gaslight him, telling him that she will kill him, but Sett didn't pay him any mind. As he looks for Nina, he is annoyed but determined to bring her back, though he isn't sure what to do once he finds her. He is simply pissed off and sick, wobbling on his horse and thinking about how he never wanted anything but death before. In the end, he falls from his horse. When he wakes up and sees Azure in front of him, he recognizes him instantly. But before he can say anything, Azure asks, "Where is Alicia?" Sett isn't thrilled to see him, and since Azure didn't save him for a small talk either, he threatens him. Sett just starts laughing, saying that threats only work on those who fear death. Azure points out that Galgada no longer needs the princess, so there should be no reason to hide her. Sett responds by asking, "What do you need with a fake princess?" He notices his expression, which confirms that she is indeed fake. Then he asks if he came to kill her before the secret gets out, or if he came to save her, adding that he doesn't care. Either way, she belongs to him, whether she's a princess or not. Azure insists she is a princess of Fortuna, but to Sett he sounds desperate. Then he claims he will crush Fortuna soon enough as it is the will of Galgada. And if Azure wants to stop him, he should do it now, before he creates a new sea of Fortunan blood and the Fortunan princess one day. Before he can finish, Azure pushes him to the ground, aiming his sword at him. His eyes are completely empty. He asks Azure to kill him, saying it is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to reduce Galgada's strength. However, Azure realizes he doesn't mean what he's saying and that he's also there to rescue Nina. He wonders if Sett is trying to agitate him. Then he thinks about himself and how he was once ready to die at any time too until Nina came into his life. He thinks about her and her wish to see the future. Just like that, he lets Sett go, even if killing him was the right choice for a king. Before they leave, Sett tells him that he won't get another chance and will regret not killing him. But Azure has made up his mind. He calls Sett a death seeker, tells him to take care of his body, and reminds him that he can't have Nina. As they set off, Hikami says he should have killed him, but he replies that it was not yet a battle. He explains that life is fragile, like a bubble on the water's surface, so he will not take it recklessly. That is the type of king he will be in order to suit Nina. Back at the cave, Sett loses it completely. He laughs, thinking that he knew something was going on. Then he thinks back to how Nina was always acting for Fortuna's sake. He thinks to himself that the target of her straightforward gaze wasn't him, but rather it was Azure. He believes that she did all that for Azure and Fortuna, and there was no special there. There was no love. It was all fake. It felt stupid to him. He could hear the curse of attachment and resentment, so he decides to destroy everything, even himself and even Nina. In the next scene, we see Sol showing off his strength, claiming that muscle memory is a hell of a thing. He tells the guards to seek medical attention and tells a shocked Yor that he has grown a lot since they last met. In the background, Anne and Nina disguise themselves in soldiers' coats. Sol plans to get out before the warden tries anything else. They head into the freezing cold and see shooting stars. That's when Nina declares they will chase out the warden and free the second-class prisoners, a plan Yor finds stupid because released prisoners would have nowhere to go. Yor is in shock mode, and to tease him, Sol asks if he is finally okay around girls. Nina tests it out, but sadly, he is still the same. Amid their chatter, Sol notices there are no guards at the exit and goes to investigate a commotion, telling Prince Yor to keep an eye on the girls, as they aren't scary. Then Nina randomly asks why Yor is afraid of girls and tells her to leave him be, and Yor goes into shock mode again. They notice more shooting stars. Yor says one might be good luck, but more than that is a bad omen. As they are talking, Nina notices a second-class prisoner sign at her, calling her and asking her to keep quiet. She wondered if he was in trouble and went after him, but it turned out to be a trap. The warden catches her. He hates how she screws things up, and he won't let her destroy his paradise. He considers breaking her neck or suffocating her while she hopes for someone to save her. That's when they realize those weren't shooting stars. As arrows rained down on them, it was the ash golden moon. The warden got distracted, allowing her to run away. She sees Azure coming toward her, so she pinches her cheeks and wonders if she's dreaming. He smiles, says he's glad she's safe, and calls her name. Nina breaks into tears because she never thought she'd see him again. Though she never stopped wanting to, she cries and apologizes for the last time, telling him she was happy to see him even then because his presence proves he didn't forget her. He pats her head, asking how he could ever forget her after she tried so hard. She continues to cry because so much has happened and she has almost given up over and over again. She hugs him tightly, making him blush slightly, commenting on how strong she is. Suddenly, she hears someone calling her name. She pushes him away, being flustered about the fact that she hugged him. But then she realized that it was not the problem. Anne and Yor were coming to get her. She panicked and asked him to hide, but it wasn't necessary because he came to get her out. When they arrive, Yor instantly recognizes him as a messenger from Fortuna. Nina quickly says he's here to help because she is their princess. Azure introduces himself as Azure. He says they heard the details and concluded that Galgada has cancelled the engagement, so he has come to take the princess home because she is irreplaceable to Fortuna. Yor argues that he can't just make decisions like that while in Galgada territory. That's when Sol joins the conversation, saying that King Noah intends to start the war no matter what, and that he'd love to hear the details, but it would have to wait as the front gate is destroyed and they can't leave until it's repaired. Nina remembers the warden was just here and is likely up to something, so they need to catch him fast. Sol asks if they can break out first, but Nina is worried about the second-class prisoners and supports her, while Yor still thinks that escaping should be their priority. In the end, plan remains the same, but now they have Azure on their side. Suddenly, they hear a clanging noise, so Sol rushes inside to check. The warden is using speaking tubes, devices that transmit voice over long distance. He orders the jailers to release the first-class prisoners immediately and commands them to kill Nina and the others. The first-class prisoners are heavy offenders who have killed many people. He also gives the same chance to the second-class prisoners, promising money and freedom to whoever succeeds, basically not caring about who does it, but just wanting to get rid of them. Nina asks Sol to handle them while they chase the warden. The prisoners ask how he will fight them all alone, and he shifts into serious mode, telling them that even when a school of small fry comes together, they are still just small fry. He looks so good without glasses. I really hope we get a season 2 so we can see this being animated. In the hallway, we see Yor and Azure protecting the girls from jailers and prisoners while trying to reach the warden. Azure whispers to Nina that Yor and Anne aren't going to last, so Nina decides to split into 2 groups to divide the enemies. Anne and Yor will hide where Nina tells them, while she and Azure draw the enemy's attention. Yor is worried about being alone with a woman, but they have too much to handle, so Nina asks them to trust her. She takes off her hat and literally announces their location to lure everyone in. After that, she apologizes to Azure, saying he isn't their target, so he can run if it gets too dangerous. He obviously tells her to stop the silly talk and quickly find the warden so they can end this. Though she feels guilty, but having him with her is motivating. On the way, they meet 2 prisoners with swords. They apologize, saying they just want to go home to their families. She recognizes them and asks Azure not to hurt them. The scene shifts to the warden, who thinks they will suffer a gruesome death that he will cover up by claiming they were never here. He views the prison as his paradise, a place where the weak beg for their lives. It's a twisted pleasure, a feeling of omnipotence, like one has become a god. Surprisingly, the one who set him up for this was Toad, and he intends to pay this debt to him by finishing Nina himself if the prisoners fail. Back to Nina and Azure. When the prisoners explain their situation, Nina gets furious that the warden took advantage of their feelings. She says that he will pay for it even if that's the last thing she does. Then we see a guard rushing toward her. She wishes they would let her through as fast as possible. Before he harms her, 2 mice came in the guard's way, distracting him. Nina put her cloak on the guard, while her mind is a mess of guilt. She ran as fast as she could, but Azure catches her, telling her to calm down and that she doesn't have to do everything herself because he is there. She can lean on him and ask him for help. Then he tells her that he has taken the throne and is now the king. He says he will defend Fortuna and carry it into the future because it is his duty and his desire, but he also admits it is a lonely path, so he wants her to return and stay by his side. He tells her there can be no one else but her. She is the one special thing in his life. Nina is stunned. She wonders if he has always been this way or if she is hearing things. She asks him to say it again, leaving him flustered because repeating it is embarrassing. Their sweet moment is interrupted by a blast. They hear another bomb, and she wonders if Anne and Yor are okay. They were fine, but they moved to another spot. Meanwhile, Sol has already finished beating everyone and is now catching up. It turns out the bombs were signal for the guards, who starts bombing all the path and shortcuts, leaving only one clear route. Azure finds it suspicious but doesn't say anything. Instead, he wonders where Hikami was. The clear path leads them to Anne and Yor, who were also forced out by the explosions. Nina is ready to teach the warden a lesson, but before she opens the door, Azure sees Hikami's red arrow as a warning. He tells them to get back and protects Nina with his body as a massive explosion occurs, causing destruction. Nina gets up and sees that he's badly hurt. Anne and Yor are on the ground as well. Then the warden appears, mocking them and saying that they were lucky as each and every one of them had all their limbs. But still his plan was successful as their only fighter was on the ground. Nina stands in front of Azure to protect him, while the warden disrespects him by calling him a worm. She tries to use Azure's sword, but she is too light and frail. Yor stand up too, but they aren't a threat to him. Nina tells the warden that a creep like him shouldn't call Azure a worm, as he is irreplaceable to Fortuna. The warden knows that he has an upper hand, so he mocks her, asking what he should call him then, a buffoon or a roadside pebble. He is in his zone, breaking Yor's sword and hitting Nina hard, causing her to fall down. He then steps on her head, laughing and calling her a mere girl, not a priestess of the gods. Yor tried to save her, but he hits him as well and begins to cry, while he wonders who he will execute first. His pick was Azure, which caused Nina to burn with anger. She kept repeating that he will pay and gets up with a sword to attack him. At the same time, Azure wakes up. He saw her aiming for the warden, but then her eyes did that glowy thing and she lost her sight, leading her to miss the warden. Though before he could hurt her, her mice allies climbed all over him. With this, it is clear that she can control the animals, but how she can do that is still unclear. Soon Sol arrives, and after seeing him, the warden flees. But instead of chasing him, he checks on Nina, whose nose bled before she faints. The warden goes to the roof, still believing he's a god. But his fantasy breaks when he orders the prisoners to kill the priestess and the prince, and they throw rocks at him instead, choosing to fight alongside Nina. He starts his threats and name-calling again until Sol casually pushes him off the rooftop, and he dies a fitting death. Nina finally wakes up in Azure's arm. He says she scared him by dropping that way. While she is more worried about his wound because he was bleeding a lot, he says it wasn't serious, but she is worried that he must have hit his back or head. She checks every corner of his body to make sure he's still alive. When she confirms that he is in fact alive, she hugs him, saying that she's glad he is safe and that if he had died, she couldn't go on living because as long as he's alive, she can keep thinking that she will see him again. In her mind, she finally understood that she she wasn't really prepared to never see him again. She just figured that as long as he was alive, they could meet some other time. That good was her hope. He tells her the same, that he couldn't live without her. She cries, realizing he thinks of her dearly, way more than she ever thought he did. She was about to say something, but Anne and Yor were right there. They wonder why she is treating a mere retainer like that. Anne thinks about Sett and Nina, but before she can conclude anything, the scene changes. We see guards of the palace heading for the prison and the maid searching for Sett's bird, while he is standing on a mountain overlooking the facility where Nina is. All this means that in the next chapters, we are finally getting Sett and Nina together. Though a little spoiler, their reunion is not going to be very romantic. I wish I could add those chapters here, but this is already long enough. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening to me. Take care of yourself and goodbye.
If you're sticking by my side, maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change.